My final guest today is, as I just said, Mayor Muriel Bowser, and you heard her last night. Very powerful statement. The mayor of Washington, D.C. Many who call the nation's capital home are painfully aware of just how expensive this city can be. Last year, the city released its housing equity report and has taken a unique approach to equity by setting affordable housing goals by neighborhood. Mayor Bowser is also working on her 36,000 by 2025 plan, which aims to build that many new homes by the year 2025. Mayor Bowser, great to see you. Congratulations on a very powerful statement last night. And let's just start there for a minute. I mean, what I sort of felt you did last night is you reminded people about what we could achieve if we took a social contract in this country more seriously. What were the pieces of that? And as we're talking about affordable housing and the steps you've been taking in this city, can you paint that picture for us through the Washington, D.C. lens?
Sure. So thanks for making that connection. What we talked about last night was putting Black Lives Matter into action and bringing those words alive in all of our policies. And you're right to focus on affordable housing as an issue that's important to Black people and the Black agenda. And that's especially true in our town. We're pre-pandemic. We were growing, people were moving here, businesses moving, very strong economy, but also very strong demand for housing, which has pushed all the prices up. So housing has been, I'm in my second term, 5 years, 5 budgets that we've done where we've made housing a priority. You talked about our new second term initiative to take affordable housing to all 8 wards and set a goal for every neighborhood.
Well, one of the things that I sort of felt in your comments last night was reminding people about human dignity, dignity for everyone. How do you, when you're talking to legislators in Washington, you're talking to the White House, which I know on occasion you have to, but how do you build in the human dignity side? Because we've both been talking about affordable housing. We've also been talking about homelessness and how to fix that challenge.
Well, we've taken homelessness head on, Steve. I think, I set a goal to close a homeless shelter for families that was too big and not in keeping with our DC values to protect children. We did that by really calling on the city to be a part of the solution in every part of the city. And that's important because we're a city that has been prosperous in many ways, and that prosperity has created challenges. So I asked every ward of our city to be a part of closing down a homeless shelter for families and building small, dignified, short-term family housing for families. What we promised when we did that was we could serve them better. We could give them a place to land in an emergency, but help them get back on their feet faster. And I was just so proud this year that our plan is working. People are exiting shelter and getting into permanent housing. We're taking down the amount of hotel house shelter that we have to use because our system has been reimagined. And you're right, when people are treated in a dignified way, they can deal with their emergency, they can deal with everything that got them to be homeless in the first place, and really get a second chance.
I had the privilege of speaking with you recently about the COVID crisis, about the CARES Act, about the monies that the government was giving to cities and states and territories, and DC got screwed a bit, at least so far. And so I'd like to get a status report and give you an opportunity to share with our audience what the fight is over monies that had would have been committed to this city, and that those monies actually have already been obligated in some way. So can you share that with us?
So you refer to CARES, which is the first COVID relief bill. And for some inexplicable reason, the district was treated and got a territory level funding when we always get state level funding because we function as a city, county, state. And it was a very odd thing. We never could figure out who was behind it. But we have been working ever since to rectify it, which is exactly what is in the HEROES Act. HEROES makes us whole from CARES, and also moving forward, make sure we get state level funding. But we need the Senate and the administration to get CARES out. Americans need relief. They need unemployment relief, and state and local governments need relief. We hear the president frequently say, we, this is not our fault. COVID, these are not business owners, didn't create COVID. State and local governments didn't have to shut down because of some mismanagement. It was because of COVID. And only the federal government can really fill those huge holes.
And I want to remind people, because I was following this and am interested in it myself, this level of money is about $750 million. So with that amount of money, that is serious. And so people are doing it. And I want to come back to something I started the show with in talking to Susan Del Bene and Julian Castro and others, is that as we kind of pull this affordable housing string out on how important it is, sometimes you can take it away from the kind of broader ecosystem of what has to get right. And I know from being a resident here in Washington and knowing you during your tenure, how you've moved so many other pieces of it, from businesses coming into the city, dealing with homelessness, getting affordable housing. So I'd just love to kind of, while we have an opportunity to chat, is to understand how you approach the ecosystem of what a healthy community looks like. And affordable housing is in it, but what is your North Star in generating, because you were doing it before COVID hit, but I think it's important for people to understand that these aren't just single threads, that there's a broader tapestry of work.
And this is some broad thinking that we do in looking at the social determinants of health and how Washingtonians can be resilient. We planned for pandemics. None of us thought we would actually have to deal with one. I certainly, this year started. We planned for floods and other natural disasters, and we planned for economic stressors as well. We've been a part of 100 resilient cities and put together a resilience plan to help deal with shocks and stresses that could be environmental, it could be man-made, or could be economic. And so that type of preparation has helped us. We know that health is more than just going to the doctor, but going to the doctor is a big part of that. This year, even amid COVID, we've been able to advance a 2 new hospital strategy that is going to give us hospital and a system of care in our most deserving areas of the city who have been longing for public investment. So that's part of what we're doing. But we know that job opportunity and economic opportunity are also a key to healthy communities. We know that dealing with the trauma of poverty and a lot of crime that's associated with poverty is also key to healthy communities. In our town, on one side of town, a white woman has an average age of, I think, 83. On the other side of town, a black man has an average age of 67. So we know that we have to close that gap and improve the quality of life.
Last night, just to wrap this up, I was taken with your mention of your 2-year-old daughter and why you've gotten so vested in these issues, and I guess just to end our conversation and this conversation is, how do you feel about these times? Do you feel stressed out and worried, or do you feel, given what you're beginning to hear, that you're hopeful? I mean, you're in the middle of the action, and I know it's an unfair question, but there is this set up to some degree. The Democrats set this up to say, this is a point where things could go in a very wrong direction. I'll be talking to folks in the Republican National Convention next week, the same thing, and I'm just sort of interested in your take.
Right. Well, Steve, I have to say, it's been a roller coaster of emotion. I think when this all started, I was kind of in denial almost that it was this bad. Then I experienced just some real sadness about the destruction of our economy, and joblessness, and business impacts that I was seeing all around me. There was real anxiety about health of my constituents and myself, being an essential worker and out there every day. And so I have experienced every emotion that there is. Now, I tend to be optimistic. I'm proud of the system that we built in our city because I do think it's resilient, and I think we have the types of fundamentals that will allow us to recover faster than most. But I do believe what the former First Lady said last night, that it could get worse. And it could get worse. And we have the opportunity, even with this current president, to reset right now. This is not the type of situation that can wait 4 months. So we have to react right now from a health response, from an economic response. And I know you've been talking a lot about housing. We're on the precipice of a significant housing crisis because we talk about if people can't pay their rent, landlords can't pay their mortgages, affordable housing can't stay affordable. So we need significant federal leadership.
Well, I want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser, Washington, D.C. You're right in the middle of the action here. Our studio at the Hill is half a block from Black Lives Matter Plaza, another key part of the tapestry of these times that you're responsible for. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.